everyone. I'm delighted to be with you today with two amazing designers, Susie Lucas and David Lucas, and I am Lisa Bingham-Dewart, Lux's Pacific Northwest Homes Editor. Earlier this year, actually in our September-October Southern California issue, we had the great pleasure of featuring Susie and David's recent work. And so today I would love to chat with you about this project. The design team also included general contractor Ryan Hill, and the beautiful, complete, stunning shots of the project are by Aaron Lights. So they're going to take us on a tour of this house, which you would not imagine looked like it looked before. So I want to start by having the two of you give us some background on the house and tell us what the story is.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks so much, Lisa. This is really great. We've never done this kind of thing before, so if we, just guide us a little bit, we'll try to keep it clean. So I think David should start because he has really deeper history than me.
I've worked on this house for, it's sadly like 20 years. So when we first started working on the house with them, it was when I worked for a local designer in Seattle here, Terry Hunziker. And so that's when I met the clients. So the original home was a kind of a, early 1900s Pueblo style beach cottage. But that original building had been added on to kind of like ad hoc over the course of, up until about like the 80s, 90s. So it was really unrecognizable as sort of the original quaint beach cottage. It was sort of this like, monster, just kind of collection of boxes. Didn't really have any architectural significance to it. Kind of didn't make any sense. Like you sort of like walked in a weird spot within the house. None of the arrangements of rooms had made sense. And so our client originally, they did some renovation of the work before they got, us involved. What had happened is they didn't quite know how to transform the house from the Pueblo style to more of a modern house. At that time, they wanted it to be sort of like, they wanted to do more of like a minimal remodel. They didn't want to get like too heavily involved in it. So we did mainly like, just furniture and small little things. But I think that because of that history with them doing that first remodel and that first furniture, installation on the house, it gave me a really good understanding of who they were and what they wanted. And so when they came back to us all these years later, to Susie and I, and they were like, okay, we don't want to just do little changes. We want to actually like turn this house into the amazing home that it could be. I really understood the house architecturally. And so that's why I feel like we were really able to like take, what the house was and kind of transform it into the kind of the amazing property that, we turned it into.
So you have this sort of wacky house with boxes on top of boxes, and so how do you go about making sense of something that really has been sort of an accumulation rather than a sort of thoughtful, planned out adding on over the years?
So I think really what had to happen is we had to sort of think about it was more about the kind of the function of spaces and what was needed and, how you wanted to experience this house more so than worrying about a traditional layout of rooms. So for instance, I don't know if you saw that sort of original entry court elevation. That's the kind of rough stucco wall. So just, that was sort of what you came upon when you first experienced the house. And so what I saw was this opportunity to really create a beautiful entry for them. And so that's where we sort of, we created that like low soffit and the laminated glass walls so that actually when you approach the house, you just sort of get this glow. The advantage when you approach the house is such that you see the ocean beyond, and then all you see is sort of that front facade. And so what ends up happening is that the glass actually looks like the color of the ocean. So it's like it kind of blurs your perspective, where you're just sort of feeling like you're seeing ocean, that color through the whole, through the facade there. So it just creates this very interesting, experience. And then also sort of using stone as a way to anchor the building on the site. So we kind of frame that low soffit with these sort of stone elements on either side. So it just sort of gives it a little bit of weight. So it's just things like that, like basically looking at that entry and just saying, okay, this can be a much more interesting experience, and just playing with scale also. Like we did this like massive entry gate because that really acts as their front door. So that entry gate is really this like very present and beautiful object. And it also sets the tone in terms of materials and aesthetic. It has this very sort of like quiet, the material on that gate is like this brushed wood and bronze. And so it just kind of like brings you into the world that we're trying to create sort of instantly, I would say. I don't even want to add anything. Yeah. So I want to shut up.
No, well, this is more of David's, he really is more on the architecture side of things. So really he can speak more clearly to the big broad strokes. I think that a lot of it was also just editing, like removing a lot actually helped. Wasn't there more like thresholds and doorways that like cut up the spaces that we just got rid of, and that sort of just opened up, made larger areas, and the view is so incredible. And I think in the family room the windows were not that large, right?
Yeah, and they were
we did the second renovation, so that all just got kind of blown out and opened up, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah, it was funny. So there's that sort of like the main entry of the house, that one image that you see where there's the double height entry space. That actually used to just be a single height. We created that upper clear story to kind of bring the sky in, so you get ocean and sky. And we really made sure, like Susie was saying, we made those openings as large as we could. We squared everything up. We created, just this, much cleaner frame for that view beyond. I mean, that was really the big part of it, was to where there were sort of windows in strange places, or even though they had a lot of glass, it was sort of broken up oddly. So we went in there and we really kind of cleaned up the way that you experience the view through the windows. It sounds like a little thing, but it's surprising, what that actually does. So
yeah, I think the clear stories made a big part of the second major renovation was just brightening up the house because of that, like Pueblo revival style. Things were just like lower and a little bit darker, and that our clients just really wanted everything to feel brighter. So any way we could bring more light in, and actually just refinishing the walls with like a beautiful lighter plaster made a huge difference, because it just bounced light around more. So that was like more light and feeling of lightness were big important things for, in terms of design.
Yeah, that was actually one of the truly like extremely important things from the husband. He was just like, I really want this house to feel so much lighter. The issue, of course, is that the orientation of the house doesn't really lend itself to, it doesn't really get direct sunlight because it really faces more north. It gets afternoon light on the one side of the building, but that light ends up being kind of harsh because it's it kind of ends up coming directly into the windows. So when they do get the sun, it's like really intense through the building horizontally. So, we had to do things to kind of bring reflection in a soft way into the house. So I think that's why you see a lot of kind of subtle reflective materials, like we use back painted glass to help bring bring lightness and reflection into the house. We kind of lightened up all the woods. We lightened the floors. We added, like in their family room, we actually did a black metal ceiling, but the black metal actually adds reflection into the room. Obviously not in a, Vegas-y way, but a pretty, a very soft reflection, which is what the house needs. And so it's just things like that, like opening it up, either physically opening it up, creating clear stories where we could, or opening it up with reflection. So that was sort of, part of the strategy. And actually, like to Susie's point, like with the windows, the original layout of the house was, it was like the furniture had to be arranged in a way where it couldn't necessarily take great advantage of the site and the views. And so what was great about what we could do is we could come in and we were able to reorient the space so that we could actually put furniture in an arrangement that was not only more functional for the client, but also took, better advantage of, what they actually had there in terms of the site. So as an example, the cove that the house is within is like one of the most gorgeous things you've ever seen. It's like just so present in the main kitchen and family room and western side of the house. But previously, that whole side was like basically neglected. Like they had little windows in the kitchen out to it, and the doors that they did have out to it, though they were generous, nothing was really oriented towards that view. Now when you're in the house, it's like that view is just like such a big part of, the experience of being in the house. So that was just like a major change to really be able to engage with the cove as like part of the experience of the house.
And then I wanted to ask something, because I remember in the story this came up. The original building materials too, it wasn't a normal kind of construction, was it?
It's like basically, I don't know, like dirt and rocks and some duct tape, I think is kind of what so yeah, the contractor had a real challenge. And I will say that Hill Construction did an amazing job of, just really fortifying this home because obviously on the coastal bluff in Southern California, with this kind of property, you really want to make sure that this house isn't going to go anywhere. So that was part of their, what they had to do is they had to make sure that, everything that we were doing was upgrading, but not only what we were doing, the whole structure of the house had to basically be, updated. And they were really creative, great partners to work with in terms of like really like taking my ideas and rather than telling me what I couldn't do, they were just like working what they like to do, what I want to do. So I like working with them a lot. They're great. And the client really appreciated that because what they got was a team of people that were all working together to ultimately, make their vision come true. Because the husband really was so, like, he loves this property. They both do. I mean, they both love it, but he was just, every time I would meet with them in this house, because I did a lot of little things for them before we did this major renovation. And he would always just walk me around and be like, well, what could we do to this room? And, what could we do to that room? And so I was really glad when he finally was like, let's not look at this room by room. Let's look at the entire house. Like, what can we do to this house? And so when he did that, I was like, okay, we're there now. So basically, partnering with Hill was the thing that made this all happen in a lot of ways, because it was a challenging home.
Remodels are just hard in general. It's like, where do you start? Where do you stop? It just, when they open stuff up a lot, like especially with this house, when you open things up, there was like nothing holding things together, and it was a little scary.
Like a couple of like bricks and a broom in the corner for structure or something. It's like pretty crazy. Well, actually, so that whole, like there's a bedroom suite underneath the house that basically was like, it looked like it could have been in like a trailer home. You know what I mean? It was like that kind of like really depressing, tiny windows. And as you can see in the after shots, like what that space could become being turned into a completely glass box, with that, creating that beautiful garden in front of it. That's a perfect example of, what this house had within it. And all that it required was, some major structural gymnastics. And so, that was one of those areas where we couldn't even believe what we created at the end of the day with that room.
Yeah, I mean, that's the wallpaper alone is spectacular in the before.
But that was our client's daughter, and she's amazing. She has kind of like eclectic, really creative, funky taste, and that was like her teenage bedroom.
Yeah.
She had, it's like when you walked in there, you felt like you were in like a Victorian era boudoir, which was great for her. But I mean, even at this point in her life, it's like that was her teenage bedroom.
Yeah, she likes the new bedroom better.
Well, I mean, that new bedroom's pretty spectacular. So,
and now it functions for like, it's an amazing guest suite, basically.
Honestly, every space in that house was important to them. We even, the laundry room is beautiful in that house. Like there isn't a room that they didn't want. They love every corner of the house, and they weren't gonna, not do something that they felt was amazing everywhere. So even the garage is a work of art. So, and that's why we love this client, because they cared about every space. It wasn't as if like, oh, that's just, utility, let's not worry about that. They were really like, how can we make that beautiful?
So the all-in thing is so cool to hear, because you can see, I mean, that's why the house sings, is because all those spaces, and there's so much thought and there's so much care there. So I wanted to turn our attention to the furnishings. What was sort of your guiding principle then, as you started to furnish the house? Were they starting from scratch, or were you kind of weaving in things? What was sort of the method there for that piece of things?
So it's, when I was thinking about it this morning, kind of the evolution of how we started with refurnishing the house, because that is in a way where we started the second time around. It was actually when David and I first started our studio together. They called us and they were like, we just want to freshen things up a little bit.
We just want somebody to throw pillows.
Yeah, it was like we just want to recover like this chair. It was really like pretty small, and so it was working with so they had done that remodel years and years ago. I don't know what year it was when you had worked
originally.
On it in Terry's
it was
office.
like, I want to say it was like 2001. Was like. Yeah.
When they had furnished the house with Terry. So there were some beautiful pieces, like things that do stand the test of time, but it was just time to be recovered or reconfigured a little bit and edited, we edited out some stuff. So that's where we started. So we started in the living room, like replacing rugs, recovering things. And that was like, we thought we were just going to be taking like the light approach, but then around the same time, that's when they started to say like, okay, what can we really do here? So it was sort of like at that point, moving into the other rooms of the house, there were certain things that we, worked with and reused, but in general, I would say anything new that we added in was really thoughtfully chosen. Keeping with the mantra of trying to brighten things up and lighten the overall feeling. Like some of the furniture was kind of heavy and dark, and it just didn't suit, the kind of like beach or, coastal experience there. That
was like actually one good point, is that I would say that originally the house had a very Pacific Northwest feeling to it in terms of the palette and materials. And that's sort of what Terry, who we worked for, was known for, was that kind of color palette. And so I think that the clients had loved that for, for a long time. It was like suited them. But I think they just then realized they wanted a house that felt more part of La Jolla, where the house is. And so Susie and I were really able to embrace that idea of, okay, let's not worry about like this palette. And things, the thing that was great is that like we're really open. If something worked in terms of a piece of furniture, we would just recover it. But, really the furniture plan was completely reconceived. And so, reusing pieces, a few pieces, recovering them, it just was kind of like everything got evaluated, and we thought about it, the client, everybody weighed in on whether or not we felt like something was worthwhile to keep. And obviously, it just ended up being a little bit of like an eclectic mix, which actually suits the house's history of being, kind of like developed over time. So,
But I would say as we got like over to the family room where David was mentioning how the furniture was able to be kind of reconfigured to take in the view better, like all of that had to pretty much be new because it just was a new orientation. And I would say that is kind of my favorite, that family room area is my favorite part of the house. I had so much fun with like that cove as the backdrop is incredible. It's like every time you go to the house, it changes depending on the time of day and the weather and like the tide. So just being inspired by all the colors there. And we did this beautiful rug with Eric Lindstrom that was really like inspired by that kind of coastal texture. Being able to bring in pieces like that, I think was, something really special to the, new furnishing style of the house.
And even the art, like there's a Nicole Chesney piece that's like up at the bar that, so like depending on when you go into the room, the piece is like a glass. Is it like painted glass or I don't know. It's just like this amazing surface that like changes color as like based on like the reflectivity in the room of light. So you'll go in there and it'll either like perfectly reflect the color of the ocean, or you'll go in there and the clouds will be kind of moody, and so the piece somehow becomes this like moody paint. It's just kind of incredible to see how like the art also like interacts with the architecture and the view. And it's pretty amazing.
With the art collection that you mentioned, was a lot of it existing, or did you have, were they collecting pieces to go into this new iteration of the house?
They were collecting as we went, I think, so this remodel did last many years, is that fair to say? Something like it was kind of organic, relationships. They would find things that they love. That huge Ed Moses piece that's on the wood wall by the family room, which I love. Like they found that, and it was just so perfect for that spot. There were some pieces like that Nicole Chesney that David mentioned. We found for them and suggested it, and so it's kind of like a group effort in terms of
the whole house was really a collaboration. I think that the only person who didn't weigh an opinion about the art was Ryan Hill, the contractor.
But he helps us figure stuff out.
So I always like to ask, and I think this would be particularly relevant with this house, about how it just resonates personally with you. I mean, it seems like it speaks a lot to kind of your evolution as a designer, David. You started this when at a very different point here. So I mean, how does it kind of track on your design journey in terms of how you thought about design when you were first involved with the house versus now?
That's actually, thank you for that question, because I feel like this house was like, it kind of let me learn how to design better. Originally when I worked on it, it was through was working on it through the lens of another designer. So I was having to do things like based on my assumptions of what he wanted. And so, you know, this house really like kind of took the off of me, and you know, I got to just design. It was like, you know, this house was like the first house where, you know, that it was like this transitional thing between, you know, who I was and then, you know, who I've become in terms of being a designer. So this house is very important to me, and like love these clients. They're still really, really dear friends.
Because David had this deeper history with the client, I had always heard about them, but had never met them. So when we did start that first kind of go round of refreshing the living room, I was like a little nervous at first. I was like feeling like I was like, you know, being you know, opened up to like their world, that they already had this relationship. I wasn't like exactly sure the dynamics, but they were just the most gracious, amazing, fun people to be around. And so like when you are just starting your own studio and you feel like a little nervous and not exactly sure how to like you're doing things for the first time on your own, to have them as clients was like the most amazing fit, because they are so like easy and open and fun to like work through problems with. And so I think for me, it's really personal, because it's like without that kind of great team and support in the beginning, it'd be really hard for us to like have the confidence to move forward and start bringing our own ideas to the table. And, you know, it's like, if they were not them, it would have been much harder, I would say. Like they were just the most amazing clients to work for. We were very lucky.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's kind of like what Susie's alluding to and what I was mentioning. You know, just the fact that they really wanted to push things, and they also have like really exquisite taste. This made it like, you know, it's not like we would just do something and they, you know, they would just love everything. It was like, you know, it kind of took work to get to the point where we were all really happy with what we were coming up with, because they really wanted to push it, and I really wanted to, you know, push it as well, like in terms of like what we could do with this house. Obviously every project has limitations, especially a remodel, but like, you know, for instance, again, even with that like West Terrace that we designed with their new spa and the kind of, you know, a seating area with the fire feature out on the bluff there, you know, that elevation originally just looked like nothing. It was just this sort of like the side of a gas station, you know, literally. And then to go in and sort of, you know, give that an art, you know, this, you know, really kind of calm, but, you know, kind of strong presence. It just, you know, just really makes it so that the house on, you know, that side of the property, when you're there, it just, you know, it just feels like rooted on that bluff, but also just kind of like, sort of like flying out over the bluff in a way. I don't know. So it's just like things like that where they really they cared about those details. And so it allowed me to be able to really think about how to create something, you know, for them and for this project. I mean, I get, you know, it's like, it's almost like an endorphins rush, right? Like when you come up with something that, you know, that like when they finally are like, yeah, we love that, you get excited about it. And so that this project really was that. It was like, you know, what if we do this? And then they get excited about it, and then everybody's excited about, you know, the potential. And that's sort of what happened with this, sort of going through the whole thing and really getting to like work out the problem and really design, you know, what we thought would be the best solution, and think of things, you know, obviously it functions as a family house and it functions well for them, but, you know, within that context, you know, trying to be as creative as we could be. Was exciting and fun, and I think definitely is the foundation of, you know, the work that we do now, where we're very rooted in people's lifestyles and how they want to live and what they need. Like that's a big part of what we do, is listen to what the client is, you know, needs out of the home, and taking that and work, you know, that becomes part of the equation to, you know, to what we create.
That's such a wonderful story. I mean, I think that's why I love doing what I do is both because the projects are beautiful, but also just the stories behind them and how they resonate with people and what you take away from them and take into the rest of your lives and your careers and that sort of thing. So our time is up. And I know it went right really, really fast. But it was great to see you in semi-person for a change. And I really, really appreciate your time, David and Susie. This was a great way to spend a little bit of time hearing about this really, really special, wonderful project. So thank you both so very much.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. This is great.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior Design. Now, today we're heading to Miami. Imagine the beautiful beaches, the salty sea breeze, the sun in your face, and then the need to get in the shade. Well, there's a company that for 20 years has been designing gorgeous and durable outdoor lifestyle solutions. Their name is Tucci. By the way, I'm a big fan, and I'm excited to hear their story, go behind the design, and then check out what's new. Yes, we're shedding light on shade. Now, to help me do that, today is Dougan Clarke, founder, CEO, and Chief Product Architect. Hi, Dougan.
Hi there. What an introduction it was. Thanks so much.
It was easy. It was so easy because I was so excited. Honestly, you know, Dougan, I was looking you up and reading all about you, and you know, I think we're kindred spirits because I consider myself a water gal, and I grew up at the beach and was a lifeguard and all of that stuff. So it's you and me right now.
Awesome. I tell you, you made me want to go seek some shade right now too. I'm obviously a creature of shade, and I was kind of about to head to the beach with that introduction.
there we go. So let's get started. You know what's so great about having the time to hear your story is that is so inspiring. And I'd love to give me the version, sort of a Cliff Notes version of how it all started. How did Tucci start?
Can I say sheer panic, like what I was going to do with my life? Is that where we start?
I like that.
As a young man.
Fear is a motivator for sure.
Well, I tell you, I got through college and not very successfully, and then kind of tried to find a path. And I had previously, as in high school, worked in a boat shop in Miami for one of my friend's fathers, small craft Miami, a guy by the name of Fred Herman, an incredible innovator in the marine industry. And he taught me from about the age of 14 or so how to work with tools and how to do basically anything, any kind of rigging on a boat. So I had that background growing up, and after school, I started selling outdoor furniture for a company called Porch and Patio in Miami, Florida. And of course, every umbrella that we'd sell would come back, the next day, the next hour, but within a very short time for a repair or to be replaced. And so after I did that for a number of years, I kind of thought, there's got to be a better way to build this mousetrap. And so I was able to go back to the old boat shop that I worked at. I talked to Fred and I said, hey, how'd you like to start an umbrella company here? And he was, he's such a kind hearted man. And he's like, just tell me what you need. Did he think you were crazy, or what was it really like? He knew I was crazy. Yeah. I spent a lot of time with he and his son on the water, fishing and boating over the years. So he was just all the more than happy to accommodate me and built me a small lean-to off of the primary shop. And that's kind of where we started Tucci, just under some awning windows on a lean-to off of the primary kind of barn of the boat shop that we were in.
I love I see the gate 8150, right?
It's really nostalgic. I ride my bike by there now, and unfortunately that shop is no longer there. His mother lived to be about 110. Fred was born on that property in the house that he lived in there.
Wow.
And she passed away, and then the property passed on, and they had to change it. So it kind of looks more like Miami than it did look like the pioneering place that it was a long time ago now. But it's still nostalgic. There's still an avocado grove there, and it's a fun place to ride by with the kids. And I tell them kind of that was the area that was the place that we started Tucci in. So
I love, the place looked extraordinary, right? And really like a treasure.
A lot of fun as a kid to play there, play with all the tools, and hopefully not lose a finger or an eye or anything, because there were real equipment there. But it was an awesome way to grow up, and everything I learned in that shop is kind of has translated and defined me into the person I am today, into the business that we are.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. Like sometimes, like one idea, right? And it's a moment in your life where you kind of had the tools to get up to that moment, right?
Yeah. Well, we did, and as a matter of fact, I was deciding as I left Porch and Patio. I said, I got to make something. I know I can make something great for outside, and I've got those skills. But what is it going to be? And I thought I might make an outdoor chaise lounge or furniture in wood, and I thought that might be a neat avenue. And or I can make umbrellas out of aluminum alloy things that we had used in the shop. And the ultimate decision, thankfully, was to go the umbrella route. I was very concerned about handling wood, and that the wood resource is very hard to manage because of the humidity in Miami, and things move, and you'll cut something and all of a sudden it's no longer what you cut. It changed, it warped, it did this. So thankfully there was some divine intervention there, and I went to the shady route of business rather than the seeding world.
Yeah, and like how many years in did you kind of recognize, oh, this is going to work out?
Well, I tell you, it wasn't really an option for it not to work out.
I love that.
I had cashed in my 401k, which wasn't a lot of money, but it was everything I had at the time.
Yeah.
And paid a pretty stiff penalty to do that. And I borrowed some money from friends and family to kind of help us get going. And so it wasn't an option not to pay, my loved ones back. So it was going to work. And there was a lot of sleepless nights there for that first year. But, you go out, you make you get the sale, you make the umbrella, you deliver it, you go back in the middle of the night, do your accounts receivable, accounts payable. And then I wish I could say you wake up and do it again, but you never went to sleep. So it was really some of the most exciting years of my life, beginning it out, and it continues to be exciting every year.
Yeah. So I want to talk about design, because I mean you must have it in your blood, because everything about Tucci and the product is so beautifully designed. Where did that come from? Where did the inspiration come from?
Well, certainly, the world that I grew up in is Miami, and I spent a lot of time on the water. My mom was a passionate fisherman, and she really introduced me to fishing and the love of the world, of the water world. And my dad is a musician and a composer and a writer, and also painted and drew. So somewhere in there, in addition to my mom being kind of a philanthropic, maniacal fundraiser for everything in the world that could have been growing up, I got her sales skills and my father's creative skills. I became a musician as well, and I play in a band from time to time now as an adult. But I grew up playing the piano and composing music and things like that. So. The world that you live in, the world that you grew up, how you grew up, the family that you have, what you surround yourself, your friends. That my experiences at the boat shop was an extension of my friendship with Fred's son, and and then it's a matter of what do you do when you get to the business world? Like how can I'm going to make a product, and how am I going to make it our own.
Right.
So there was a genesis that happened along the way when I was selling just a regular 9-foot octagon green, hunter green umbrella. Hunter green was a big color when I started.
That was it, huh?
And and so, but then I lost a sale to another company that also sold a hunter green umbrella. And I looked at the two. I'm like, well, I guess there is no difference, but there really was. I just couldn't convey it in an image.
Right.
They look kind of the same, but it wasn't until you touched it, felt it, and really understood the construction behind why ours was better, why ours was more durable or serviceable. And so that's when I had the genesis to kind of create an umbrella that totally looked different than anybody else's. And as a matter of fact, at that time, I stopped referring to our umbrellas as umbrellas, and because umbrellas were something that was kind of disposable before us. So we created an umbrella called the Manta, and that was a fun exercise in, hey, why does an umbrella have to look like this, like X, Y, or Z? Why don't we just make it look like something that evokes something from a world that I'm familiar with? And that umbrella kind of set us on a trajectory to become more of a design-orientated company, of course, with our nautical roots and durable and serviceable construction. Right.
Wait. So, and you made a cardboard, a little prototype, right? But did you make the cardboard prototype?
I sure did. Yeah, that was. It was a Christmas morning, and I had a cardboard box there. You know, this is the R&D super high-end laboratory of Tucci in my living room, and I cut up a cardboard box and taped panels together, and took something out of a planter outside, a little piece of bamboo or something, and put a pole on it. But then it was all about, I created this prototype, and I'm like,
now you got to make it.
That looks cool. Now, how does it work? I can make a static structure like that. That's not a problem. But how do you make it go up and down? How do you make it tension itself? So that was, that took a couple of weeks of brainstorming and stuff. But we eventually got there, and like I said, that became the genesis for a lot of what we do now as a company. Is just kind of, form and function have to go together. It's just not a cool form because we can do something crazy and have arms sprouting out of the thing and whatever. But does it have a function? Is it a functional shade equipment? Does it cut the wind? Does it cut the sun? How will it live in those environments? Will it complement a unique outdoor environment in a particular way? So, like I said, that the Manta became the genesis for a lot of different things that we've done since then, and kind of set us on a trajectory to be a heavily design-orientated company.
Okay, so since Manta, what are some of your favorites along the way?
Well, the next umbrella was the Zero Horizon, and that was a cool functional shade platform that kind of disappeared into the horizon. So it had a very modern feel to it, but a high shade utility underneath it. That was a very cool option. Then we created something called the Razor, which had a tilted platform that it tilted without the umbrella tilting, if you will.
Wow.
So that was a unique take on a tilting umbrella. Also very contemporary look. And then we created something called the Metro, the Crescent, and we continue to have extensions from that names of umbrella, names that evoke a sense of what that umbrella may look like, or where that umbrella was inspired from. We soon after that, we got into shade sculptures, which actually don't open and close. It's a fixed static shade, and we created one called the Stingray, and that is just a really cool product that is permanently installed into the ground. You open it, and it evokes a certain emotion to it, and certainly to a seaside environment. So those are some of our favorites, and we continue to work in the Tucci kitchen on all kinds of different new products now.
Yeah, I love that. And then when did you, Dougan, when did you start getting into the commercial piece of the business? Because obviously hospitality is a really nice arm of the business, right? And other commercial endeavors and residential, like you can do it all.
Yeah, well, I could, the very first sale I made was to a resort called Couples Negril in Jamaica, and so we weren't gonna survive making one umbrella at a time. So you obviously had to go and find commercial restaurants, street side cafes, things like that, to go after that business. And that was really the impetus of our company, was a more commercial orientated company, building products that will last, that are serviceable. And then a couple years later, we kind of did chase the retail and residential world more with these new designs that spoke to that world a bit. So, retail's been a great part of our growth over the last 10 years or so. And we're pleased to be able to make some products that really make sense for that world in terms of the ease of function, the ability to cover large spaces and create outdoor rooms. The umbrella just isn't a small umbrella anymore. It's right. We're manufacturing umbrellas that are 24-foot square. They can encompass an entire patio. We're all about open air shade and creating those unique outdoor spaces that are comfortable and accessible.
Amazing. I mean, I keep like getting the sort of the essence of where you are, which is Miami, right? Because I think, you were exposed to a lot of hospitality, a lot of commercial spaces. You talk about the water and, the shapes of product. So it really is like part of the DNA, Miami, right?
Certainly. One of the reasons I started the business was because it would bring me next to the sea, next to the ocean, next to kind of what I love and I'm passionate about. Certainly, I was excited about traveling to places like Jamaica to go sell umbrellas.
Right.
You have more fun.
Not bad, huh? Yeah, no, fantastic. Listen, I wanted to ask you about some of because I know you have new product in the works right now, right?
We have lots of new products in the
works. Okay, because designers, we want to know what's new out there. So let's share a few of the new products.
Well, as it turns out, COVID is a great time to make new products because you got a lot of time on your hands. So we're making the most of it here, and we've got new cantilever products that cantilever collapsible shade products that we add on automation. So from a click of a button or from your telephone, you can open and close your umbrella remotely. We've got a new louvered. We're getting into the shelter business, which is with our cabanas and pergola systems. And so we've got an automated louvered roof for our cabana structures that is really cool. It senses the environment around it and will either open or close depending on what the wind, if it senses rain and things like that, or snow. So we've really got some cool things going in that side of the business, not just collapsible shade, but really continuing that room beyond the house to the outdoor room and creating large livable spaces, large livable open air spaces. So,
and it seems to me that the idea of the louvre is so timely because we want barriers, but we need air to flow, right? So it seems like you're right on point, right there with like what's happening right now.
Well, I hope so. It's good to hear that. I hope it resonates with our customer base as well. And there's a lot to do with open air shade, and it's not just louvers for us, but there's all kinds of extensions that you can do to those products outside. We're looking at rope siding and different creative.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, to create window spaces and shutters and things like that you can even channel air, big swinging panels and stuff like that. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of creativity around there. Our team is having a lot of fun in the Tucci kitchen, kind of putting those things together. Our kitchen is called Shadow Works. It's kind of our dark ops area.
I love that. I love that you call it the Tucci kitchen. All right, there's another one, the North Star Mast.
That's a new introduction, and it's a new way to construct a mast that gives a unique look and an extreme durability with the channeling that we put in the extrusion itself. The aesthetics that you can achieve with that are nearly endless. So we're doing a lot of blended materials, both using actual farm-raised teak panels within that extrusion, as well as some of our unique powder coated finishes and our exclusive Alumateak finish, which is a really awesome and durable outdoor finish that resembles wood. And it's really hard to tell the difference between our actual teak product and some of our Alumateak finishes.
Oh, I won't tell anybody that.
Well, it's awesome. I mean, it tells a great story because it looks like that for a long time, and it's very easy to maintain. So if you're a real passionate wood connoisseur and consumer, we've got the real authentic teak. And if you like that look, but you don't want the associated maintenance. Then we've got a Lumatique, which is.
I love that. I love that you have both. Don't tell anybody that it's not wood. They'll never know, right?
And you got to touch it and kind of knock on it and go, oh, I had no idea. So
amazing, amazing. So I also want to talk about, because there's this like gorgeous image of the whole company in white.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's so honestly, it's so beautiful. It kind of gives me the chills. But I know there's a culture going on. It has to be. When I saw that picture, I was like, we need to talk about that.
Well, our company we're in Miami. It's a melting pot of the world for sure. Right. And we've looked at ourselves and you know, our company resembles the United Nations. Like, we've got people from all over the world here. And how better to kind of convey who we are and where we come from than to put ourselves in a white room in our white photo shoot outfits, and so you can just see the personality. You can see our faces. You can get a sense of the diverse nature of where everyone comes from our company, and you know, that diverse nature contributes to our product development. It contributes to our background. The heritage of the people that work here bring like an amazing creativity and problem solving ability to everything that we do here. It's really, I'm so glad that we're based in Miami. It's not really a manufacturing town, but we make the best of it, and it's worked out for us in incredibly unique ways with the pool of employees and partners that we've been able to have work with us here.
Yeah, you sort of get that spirit. And I think of your mom, because you mentioned, first of all, the fact that she's a fisherman. I'm like, what? But also,
passionate, yeah,
that's crazy. But also that she gives back, right? And I believe that is part of your ethos as well.
Certainly. You know, when I first started the company, my mom would, she'd just hit me up for an umbrella every week for this or that or the other. And I'm like, hey, Mom, you know, this is a company. I need to make money here. We can't just give everything away. But she was so proud of what we had been able to build, and obviously more than happy to share the good news with the world, with our community, about what we've been able to do, and in a way that gives back. So those roots certainly are very important to Tucci. We have a very vibrant community outreach program for the environment, education, and a number of different thrusts that are important to us. It's all about comfort and accessibility. That's kind of our founding points, and obviously it's quite literal: comfort and accessibility in your backyard, on your patio, on a dock, on a boat, wherever you are.
Okay, so Tucci, the brand. I'm going to give you words that I read about you, and then you're going to give me an explanation. All right. So Tucci, the brand. The first word is adventure.
Exposed. And so we have a campaign, and it's really an adventure that we call Exposed, and we put our products all around the world into the most unique environments. It's one of the buckets that we put our product in, or one of the buckets that our brand operates in as far as our means of communicating to people. Exposed is probably an extension. It's probably the most fun that you can have in a company. I think certainly in this company, enjoying the adventures and putting our products into the most ridiculous environments that we can. We try to break them, but and these products have become the placement of those products has become almost art installations for us. We put them there, and we didn't know what would turn out of our efforts to break the umbrella and just to put it in a raw and exposed environment. But what occurred was that we were able to, the environments that those umbrellas created, and the little nooks of shade and comfort that were there, were really unique. And so we've had a lot of fun bringing those installations and those photo shoots to life.
First of all, can I just say, as an editor, I mean, this is the kind of thing we get excited about when we see this kind of imagery and this design DNA in your company, by like taking that adventure and creating something that is really, really special to your company. So amazing. Adventure, like 100%. Okay. Exposed. Okay. Performance.
Well, that's probably our M32 bucket, and that's a series of adventures with our M32 class of catamaran sailboats. These are amazing racing sailboats that the rigging of which and the technology behind and the innovation behind those speaks exactly to what we do and what we try to bring to our industry. We're using all of the components off of sailboats and powerboats and things like that to construct our products to live in those kinds of environments. Our association with the catamaran and racing series